What do marketers need to watch out for, especially if they're not well versed in this area?
Great question. I think the first thing is, um, what am I doing with my data? How much control do I have over my data? So I think the first thing is control. That's the first and foremost thing that every data collaboration platform at Cleanroom should be upfront about. Who owns your data? You own your data, right? You as the data owner, and then they can't forfeit the control or visibility or transparency over that data. So that's number one. The second thing is, how fast can I actually execute? How long is it going to take me to stand this thing up? Is it going to be a burden to my IT teams? Do I have to talk to the CISO suite in order to get these things stood up when really the marketers are paying for the investment at the end of the day? And so I think ease of use and time to value is extremely important. Everyone has a budget that they're all trying to make sure it remains tight. Everyone wants to make sure that when they're investing in a piece of technology, the ROI can be generated as fast as possible. And I think a big misnomer that's been introduced into the data cleanroom space is that it requires a heavy IT lift. It requires a very, very large long-term investment at the IT and technology level when that's not true, right? That's one thing obviously we do at InfoSum is make that very, very easy and a very light lift. The second thing you think about is who's actually going to be hands-on keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
So data cleanrooms, I think, in many people's minds, is a tool for the data scientist. It's a tool for the analyst. Those are expensive resources who have their hands tied, most likely doing something of more importance within the organization. And so really who's the hand-on keyboard user should be determined by those who are investing into that type of technology. If they only have someone who's maybe a planner or someone who is not proficient in SQL or Python, then great, let's get them into the platform using the tools without having to give them advanced training or have to spend the dollars and cents on a more advanced resource. And so that's another thing is ease of use and who's actually going to be doing the work is extremely important. And the last thing I would say is like really how much visibility do you have over the end-to-end scope of the multi-party collaboration? And so what I'm saying there is when we say multi-party collaboration, it should be multi-party, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so many people go into a data clean room and it's great when you're working with one partner at a time, right? I'm an advertiser. I want to work with this publisher. Great. Most of the technology out there works just fine for that. But as we just talked about earlier, many times you need an identity partner as a part of that as part of that party. You need a data partner as a part of that party. You need multiple publishers potentially as well. You need an agency involved. And so when you're talking about 2, 3, 4, 5 partners that have to be involved in a multi-party collaboration, that's where the rubber really meets the road in terms of whether or not the technology that you're investing in will work.
Mm-hmm.
And so we found that because we are born out of multi-party collaboration, because we work with three or more parties working together, that is the number one thing people are knocking on our door asking, like, can you actually make this scale with the way in which my business operates today, in which how I want to connect data today? It's not just two parties, it's multi-party. And so those are, I think, the main factors that people need to focus on is speed, ease of use, whether or not it's truly multi-party. And the last thing is how safe is it? That should be the number one thing that you're focusing on. What types of privacy-enhancing technologies, PETs as we're calling it, another three-letter acronym. What are they using? How are those privacy-enhancing technologies combined together? They're not all built the same way. They don't all offer the same level of privacy and security. And so you do need to bring the right people, a CPO or someone else on the privacy and legal end into the conversation to really gut check and really go through with a fine-tooth comb the claims that some of this technology is making about keeping your data safe and making sure that you remain in control over that data and it's not being misused or mishandled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that all makes perfect sense and just brings me back to the days of programmatic that like the contract itself is so absolutely
Totally.
vital and you need somebody there kind of walking you through it to ensure everything that you just kind of laid out is guaranteed
Right.
in writing.
Right.
Um,
And we
oh,
did it. Sorry, just one point on that. So we
please.
did spend so much time, relying on paperwork to ensure the privacy and security of data. Paper is just paper. Again, a contract is a contract. There's repercussions for that. But what if someone is not being purposely malicious? What if someone makes a mistake when they're writing SQL or a Python query, right? that could uncover a tons of information that they weren't privy to before, violating a lot of privacy principles and laws that they didn't intend to in the first place. So we really feel that the technology is not necessarily replacing the relationship between the parties involved or the contracts involved, but it should be there as a fail-safe. And so InfoSum really prides herself on being privacy by default, meaning that no matter what you do, you can't fuck it up. You can't make a mistake and to violate the privacy principles of your company or the other companies involved. And that's a huge factor that a lot of people don't think about, is that, this is not an easy industry. It's a very technically heavy industry. There's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts. Things go very fast. The programmatic industry is a great example of that. That was built for speed. And a lot of mistakes can happen in a very short amount of time. And having technology that can safeguard against that, I think, is one of the critical needs for data collaboration and data clean rooms to exist.